He is the founder of Hunger Mitao movement to eradicate hunger across America.
This is a great opportunity for us to connect back with the homeland and be able to share and learn what's going on over there.
He is also the CEO of Asawa Consulting Inc., a management consulting firm based out of Texas.
It is the responsibility of every generation to provide a better platform to the next generation.
NewsX proudly presents the VaKu Diaspora Dialogue with Raj Asawa. Well, hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX VaKu. My name is Megha, and joining me on the broadcast is Raj Asawa. He lives in the United States. He has worked in senior ranks for several large companies with a career of over 4 decades in corporate America. And now Raj and his wife Aradhana, they both came together to start off Hunger Mitao movement. It's a 100% volunteer-driven grassroots movement, and they started it back in 2017, and it's going great guns. It's good to have you, Raj, on the broadcast with us, and many congratulations for this non-profit initiative that you and your wife have taken forward.
Thank you very much, Megha. Good to be here, and congratulations to you for launching such a wonderful program. This is great. I think especially the Indian diaspora outside of India, I mean, this is a great opportunity for us to connect back with the homeland and be able to share and learn what's going on over there.
Absolutely. You know, my guests are very keen on learning about your American dream. How did you start it off? When did you travel from India, came into United States? What drove you for being so ambitious? Was it the American dream that attracted you to the United States?
Oh, very good question, and very good way to start out today's program. So I guess right from my childhood, my father actually, gave us lots of exposure to America and American culture, right? While we were growing up in India. I was born and raised in Hyderabad, although my background is I'm a Rajasthani Marwadi. But being born and raised in Hyderabad, my dad would take us every weekend to the American Embassy, American Cultural Center, and give us a lot of exposure to what's happening in other parts of the world. So at a young age, when I got the opportunity to come to America, my elder sister was already here and she offered to sponsor me. So I jumped at that opportunity and I came to America and I landed. Now, my dad also was a firm believer that everybody should stand on their own 2 feet. He actually sent me to America on a fly now, pay later ticket. So the day I landed in America, I was already in debt. I mean, I just had to find the first job I could. And I was at a very young age. I had not even done my undergrad. So the first job I could find in America was being a dishwasher at a very large hospital. And boy, I tell you, growing up in India, I didn't even pick up my own dishes after eating a full meal. We had servants, etc. And here I was washing dishes for 100-patient hospital for breakfast, lunch, dinner. So I call it karma. It was a payback time. But I had to work 12-hour days, 7 days a week to make enough money to pay back my loan of my flight to America. Back then, believe it or not, my wages were $1.85 an hour. I'm talking about in 1974. So I had to work really hard. I worked for an entire year without any day offs and hardly took 2 or 3 days off during holiday season. But the bottom line is this, that once the loan was paid off, at that time, in about 1975, I looked at it and said, okay, what do I want to do with my life? And I knew that education is the key to break out of any vicious circle that you may be trapped into. And I figured that that's the first thing I need to do. So I went to the university, and right around that time, computers were becoming very popular in the business circle. Because you may remember, Megha, or you may not remember rather, you're quite young. But back in those days, like in India, I remember there were only 4 computers in the entire country. And computers were used mostly for commercial purpose, for for government purposes, etc. So when computers were opening up, I just realized this is the field I want to get into. And I basically started going to college and made myself a career in computer science. So rather than boring you through all the details, I'll just share this with you, Megha. I started my career in 1974 as a dishwasher. I retired as the Chief Strategy Officer for Pro Systems in 2010. So this country truly is a land of opportunity. If people are willing to work hard, there are opportunities all around you. And also, there is a value for hard work in this country. So that's one thing that I really appreciated what United States had to offer me. And I feel that the work ethic, the discipline that I was raised with in India played a big role for my success in America.
I'm very inspired by your story. Having done all the hard work, Indians are known for their enterprising nature, and perhaps that's why the single most burgeoning community in the United States, that is also the most richest at this point of time. So congratulations once again for making all the entire country and Indians across the world very, very proud of your achievements. And, I'll shift focus from when you were in the corporate world. You have a 40-year experience, and you have obviously witnessed the topsy-turvy behavior of the markets. To then deciding to focus your life to a non-profit organization, which is Hunger Mitao. How did the idea get conceptualized, and what motivated you towards that direction?
Sure, very good point. So, there is a guru in India. I just want to kind of share this with your listeners, that he kind of summarized that the best way to live a human life in 3 words. He basically said to live a good life, a person goes through 3 stages. It's learning, earning, and returning. And those 3 words really resonated with both me and my wife. In 2010, when our company that I was working for, as I mentioned, I was the Chief Strategy Officer for Pro Systems, when we sold our company to Dell for $4 billion, at that time, we took a stock of life, my wife and I. And we said, we can keep working, several more years and keep adding more zeros to our bank account. But our time account on this planet is going down. We said, that's the most precious thing that we have right now, right? We have 2 boys, and they were both grown, and they were both working. So at that time, we said, what are the 3 things that we want to do with our lives? And the 3 things that resonated with us was we wanted to spend more time with our aging parents and family members. We wanted to do a lot of traveling and see this beautiful world. And then 3rd thing, we believe that we are in our returning stage. We need to give back to the community. When people say that they are self-made, frankly speaking, Megha, no person, no entity in this world is self-made. We are a product of our family, our friends, our community. They are the one who influence us. They are the one who we try to aspire to be like. So it becomes at a certain stage in your life to also give back to the community that shaped you into who you are. So we felt that we need to get more involved into giving back. Now, let me kind of give you how the idea of Hunger Mitao came about. We have been always engaged in some level of philanthropy, right? Giving back to causes. And most of the causes that we supported were causes back in India, right? For multiple reasons. Number 1, that's our motherland. Number 2, a dollar goes a long ways in India. So those are and also the need seems to be greater in emerging economies, developing countries like India. So it was an obvious thing to do. So we've been doing that for maybe 2-3 decades, right? Financially supporting, being involved in a leadership role at their chapters here in America, etc. So we've been involved in those causes. But 5 years ago, I was shocked to learn about the hunger issue in America. And I am sure that your listeners today are also shocked to learn that there is hunger in America. the entire world wants to come to America, right? America is known as the land of milk and honey and plenty. And yet to imagine that 42 million people of a 300 plus million population do not know where the next meal is coming from. We did not know that. I mean, I have been in America for 47 years now. So it took me 42 years before I learned that there was hunger right here in my own backyard. And at that time, Megha, I'll just pause for a second. I mean, I mentioned earlier that we have two boys. They're both married now. And now we have 4 grandkids. And all of them are growing up here. And this country that has given so much to us, this is our karma bhumi, right? This country that has given so much to us, we also need to be seen as citizens who are giving back locally, right? While we support causes back home, nobody should stop doing that. But we also should be seen as a community with empathy, community that is giving back. So we basically, when we learned about the hunger issue, we said nothing doing. We got to get involved, we got to get engaged, and we got to be seen as a community that is not just worrying about outsourcing and jobs, etc., but also making sure that we give back to the country where we are making our earning, where we are making our living. So 5 years ago, in a lunch meeting with our local mayor, when I found out about the hunger issue, my wife and I basically said, first thing, because as an immigrant, we know the value of a hard-earned dollar. As I mentioned to you in the beginning, $1.85 an hour, right? So, I mean, I was not just going to give my money just because I heard it. I need to validate. And I also wanted to make sure that it is going to the right cause, supporting the right thing. So we basically did a year or two of validation. Is hunger really an issue in America? And when we learned that actually 1 in 4 school-going children doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. When we learned that 1 in 4 child, when that child goes home on Friday, their next full meal is Monday when they come back to school. Because at school, they get subsidized or free meal. And when we learned that and when we validated that, we said nothing doing. We got to get involved. We got to make sure that there is no hunger where we live. So with that, we said, why aren't more Indian community members involved in this thing? Because we basically work with the food banks. There's a very good food banking system here in America, which is not a government program. And these food banks does the supplemental work of making sure that people who are food challenged are actually getting access to nutritious meals. So we work closely with them. And we noticed that we did not see too many other Indian friends or Indian folks out there. And that's when it hit us that, it took us 42 years to find out hunger here. So very likely our brothers and sisters from India do not realize that hunger is a big issue in America. And that's what's the birth of Hunger Mitao. We basically, at that time, we wrote a check of $100,000 to the food bank personally. And then we also gave them a proposal. We said, besides we don't want to be one and done. Besides giving our funds, we also will give 3 years of our time to the food bank. And our goal will be to get the Indian community involved, rise that community in the fight against hunger. That was our goal. The CEO of the food bank loved that idea. She said, nobody has ever come up with that. And we also said one thing very clearly. We don't want to create yet another 501c3 nonprofit organization. We want to just evangelize this thing. We want the community to get connected with the food bank. That's what we want to do. So with that, we said, let's start this movement called Hunger Mitao. And we use the word Hunger Mitao as Mitao means wipe out. It's a Hindi word. Because we wanted to create a slogan that people can hear it and they know right away that it's an Indian community that is stepping up to fight hunger in America. And it's been a great ride.
Absolutely. I think you're doing a fantastic job. It's a very noble initiative and for a plethora of noble initiatives that you have taken forward. I commend you for your enterprising nature, even having the luxury of enjoying your life, traveling, being with your wife, enjoying with your grandkids and children. You take out time to give back to the community. That's the big takeaway from this conversation that I am having and my viewers are having at this point of time. I thank you once again for joining me on the broadcast, Raj. And I look forward to hosting you and your Hunger Mitao movement and other initiatives on my broadcast in the future as well.
Thank you very much, Megha. And for the listeners, if they want to learn more about Hunger Mitao, they can visit www.hungermitao.org. And it's a simple website that just gives you some information about what it is. It's very unique model because we are not an organization, it's a movement. And there are 4 areas through which we help the hungry folks here in America. Number 1 is awareness. Number 2 is volunteering. Number 3 is we conduct lots of food drives. And number 4 is fundraising. So everybody can find one or other ways to engage. So thank you very much, Megha, for this opportunity. Really enjoyed it and look forward to coming back on your show next time, maybe with my wife, and we can both talk about our new achievements.
Absolutely. Thank you so much once again for being on the broadcast and VaKu. She's an author, a commentator, and public speaker from Houston in Texas.
It's a process of discovery. So when we step out of India, then it becomes about who we are, what is our identity.
Her latest book, Revisiting the Educational Heritage of India, is now launched.
Everybody gets to know what Hinduism is about, and they don't create these false barriers between Hinduism and Hindutva.
NewsX proudly presents the VaKu Diaspora Dialogue with Sahana Singh. Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX VaKu. My name is Megha and joining me on the broadcast is Sahana Singh, all the way from Houston in the United States of America. Sahana is an author, she's a commentator and a public speaker, and she is going to be launching her latest book. It's called Revisiting the Educational Heritage of India. It is going to be launched very soon in the coming days in the month of September. It's good to have you, Sahana, on the broadcast with us.
Thank you. Thanks for calling me.
Sahana, first things first, congratulations for penning yet another book. This time around, this is about the educational heritage of India. Your book is called Revisiting the Educational Heritage of India. Talk to us about this journey of conceptualizing this particular topic in your head and then going ahead and executing it. And now finally a finished product by way of a book.
Thanks, Megha. So actually the first book was also about the educational heritage. So this is the second book. That's why I have called it Revisiting the Educational Heritage. So the journey of writing the book, if I go back, then it has to be about my interest in history itself, because it's a process of discovery. So when we step out of India, then it becomes about who we are, what is our identity when people ask us. And so we are constantly looking to know more about our own culture and our own civilization when we step out of our country. So that's how I was always keeping myself abreast of history, writings on history. And then when we moved to Singapore, of course, at that time, my daughter was small, so I was engaged in looking after her, and all this history probably took a little bit of a backseat. But when we moved to the US, that's when my daughter joined high school, and I was looking at her history books. And then I saw that the way India has been portrayed in the world history book is not at all positive. It was, first of all, very less about India. And then whatever was there was about the sati and the caste system and low status of women. And so I was completely shocked. And that's when I realized that maybe I should be writing some articles on history myself. At that stage, I didn't think I would ever write a book because I thought I'm not a qualified historian. I'm an engineer by qualification, and all the knowledge I've picked up is by reading books and all that. But then at some stage, I realized that I could actually communicate quite well and make it understandable to the lay persons, history, because historians typically use a different language, which is very hard to understand. So I'm more of a popular historian, you can say. So that's it. When I saw the misrepresentation of Indian history in my daughter's textbook, that pushed me to start writing about history. And then one thing led to the other, and I found myself very interested in the Guru Shishya Parampara and the fact that we Indians we place so much emphasis on education. It is just in our DNA that we have to try and get the highest possible degrees, and we will push our children to study hard. And the most important thing in life is to get a good education, to be highly educated. So when I started going back to see the story, why are we like this? That's when I stumbled upon some amazing things about our educational heritage, how knowledge has been passed from generation to generation, how the memory has been trained to remember all that, and then how it is so world embracing. It's not narrow at all. It is universal in its extent, this knowledge, and it's meant to be shared. So those things. So that's how I wrote a series of articles. Then the articles, everybody said you should put it in a book, and that's how it became a book.
It's fascinating, your journey, your realization, having studied your child's books, textbooks, and then coming to the realization that the representation of Indian history, culture, heritage is minimal, and not just minimal, but also disproportionate, and bringing about a false narrative towards India. And perhaps that's why the kind of questions and curiosities that the international community has vis-a-vis India, maybe even today, things seem to have changed now, perhaps over a decade or so. But we were at one point of time called the land of snake charmers and elephants. And perhaps that may have been the reason for the misrepresentation that India has or had very recently across the entire world. But that's fascinating. That's and inspirational as well. And I would definitely want to grab that book of yours. How long did it take for you to actually put it all together? The first book obviously was launched earlier in the few years, and now you're talking about the second book that is coming out. What was the duration of the research? How were you able to actually connect with a lot of other historians, scholars, to put it out all together?
Yes, so the first book just took about maybe 2 or 3 months to put together. That was a very small book. It was like an appetizer, or you could call it like a long essay, which gave the summary of the whole thing. And the second book, I started it during the lockdown, that is 2020, in the early part of 2020. And I think I took about 8 to 10 months to put it all together. So yeah, I mean, I used to spend a lot of time in libraries before the pandemic, getting all the information that I wanted, getting PDFs of books, scanning the books and so on. And after the pandemic, during the pandemic, the libraries were closed. So I had to buy a lot of books online. And then I used to also request scholars to share if they had something, materials on the subject that I was looking at. So eventually put it all together. But the hardest job was to make it a coherent narrative, because I didn't want it to be just facts and facts which will overpower the reader. And, so it had to be a flowing narrative. That was the hardest part. How do you connect everything? I want to talk about memory training. How did the ancient people train the students to retain all that they learned? So that's a chapter. Now that chapter has to come somewhere in between, and those kind of things. What comes first? What comes next? All that was a little hard. But yeah, I had all the research in different hundreds of folders in my book, and then had to make it into a narrative.
There has been quite a lot of noise that has been created, not just now, but previously as well. But keeping in mind, there are some events that are being launched, I think, September 10th to 12th, and that there is a lot of propaganda against Hindus, against Hindutva, and that's something that the forces within India and outside of it are also looking to tackle in a way to bring to light what is the positivity of Hindutva, and why this sort of miscommunication that is being, and propaganda against India and Hinduism that is being spread worldwide. But and finally, before I let you go, Sahana, are there things that you would like to change for the minority Indian community living in the United States? I know the Indian community is by far the most knowledgeable, the most rich community in America, and they have a massive influence. But there are things that could further change for the betterment and the welfare of the Indians living in the United States?
Yes, of course. I would like the Indians and the Hindus to be better understood, because, they have all these misconceptions about swastika, what swastika means. They don't know that it is a very auspicious symbol for us, So if, suppose we put the swastika outside, they will think it's a Nazi symbol. So these are the things I would really like that in America, everybody gets to know what Hinduism is about. and they don't create these false barriers between Hinduism and Hindutva, or they politicize it, and their hatred for the BJP gets translated into dislike for Hinduism or Hindu people.
Yeah.
All that needs to go, and I would love to see more Hindus getting the chance to write op-eds in Washington Post and all these mainstream publications. In fact, I have myself written op-eds twice in Washington Post, but that was in 2014. But nowadays, they are not accepting anymore. I mean, they don't, I think, want any more Hindus writing about their worldview, their perspective of the world. They are not taking that anymore. So I can see the biases that have crept into all the mainstream media and against Hindus. And I would like that to disappear completely. I mean, give us a chance to put forward our views. And also the textbooks here, they need to change. So that also is not happening. I think maybe the Indian textbooks need to change first. And Indian academicians need to take the lead in India, because there is quite a bit of a problem. And once that happens, then maybe the change will come here also. I don't know. But right now, here, the textbooks are also biased. They are not portraying Hinduism too well. That needs to change.
Absolutely. I think you have some very fantastic, interesting views and ideas of propagation, of transformation of the way Hindus and Indians per se are looked upon by the international community, especially in the United States, since you live in Houston, in America. And thank you so much, Sana, for joining me on this very special broadcast. And we are putting out your message across, and I hope to have you and host you on my broadcast in the future as well. But thanks for joining us, and wishing you all the very best for the launch of your book.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Thank you.
NewsX ITV network have proudly launched the VaKu Diaspora Broadcasting Network.
VaKu DBN will be India's first mainstream platform dedicated to the diaspora community. Help support us. Become VaKu patrons at memboro.com/VaKu. You will get the first access to our interviews, make recommendations, merchandise access, ask questions, and get a shout out of thanks on our TV shows.
You can also suggest to us who should get the VaKu Golden Chakra Awards, and also tell us who should get into the VaKu Hall of Fame. Limited memberships are available at 100 rupees per month on Memboro VaKu.
Sign up now. Log on to memboro.com/VaKu.